Welcome, y'all. We back at it. It is heavy talk. And we in a bit, man, listen. Two things gonna happen today. We gonna get probably a little emotional and we gonna get some education. Because this is gonna be one of them weeks, man. I want to get you to understand what's going on, what has happened in our past. We had some conversations off camera about people trying to really erase our history, not tell the story the way that it should be told or what really happened. So I am glad I am here with one of those that can tell us a story from being involved in it and being around it, for his entire life and knowing how he can educate us on several different subjects today. But before I do that, we want to say, what up to nephew? You in the building, nephew? What's going on with you, man?
What's up? What's good? BD.
If you haven't been around, I got a new name because nephew said he just couldn't get with the whole little big daddy thing. And I'm okay with that.
So I got to explain it to my daddy and it didn't work out too well.
So it has brought us to the BD. So when you hear BD, that's just with me and nephew because he couldn't bring himself with the whole little big daddy thing. So we've gotten that out the way, man. We've gotten it out the way. But I want you, ladies and gentlemen, to get ready. Hold on to your seats. We're going to bring to the forefront none other than he's more than a friend of mine, man. You may hear us call each other. You may call me son. I may say dad because we just have that type of relationship. But I want you to get ready to take a ride with me, do some of Birmingham history, and do just some historic stuff of life and life skills with none other than Mr. Greg Grant is in the building, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. He's in the building. So welcome, Dad. How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful today.
Okay, that's good. We're gonna dive right off into this. We want you to just tell the people, the name of your company that they're very proud of, familiar with. If they're not, if you come to Birmingham, you need to get familiar with it. And we're gonna go from there and just kind of build. But introduce yourself and your brand because you have your brand on your chest. I have my brand on my chest, and kind of let people know what that's all about and when it got started and things of that nature.
Okay. My name is Greg Gratton. I am the proud owner of Green Acres Cafe, downtown Green Acres Cafe in Ensley. And I have been successfully in business for 68 years.
Y'all heard it right. He made no mistake. He said 68. Yeah, keep it going, but there you go.
So my father started the business in 1958, which was a spinoff from his brother's Green Acres in Chicago, Illinois. So don't get it wrong. Green Acres started long before 1958. It started in 1946 in Chicago, Illinois. So we are just history repeating itself and continuing on to be a legacy that's very familiar to everyone. So I just want to say that I am the proud owner, and I can't say no more than that. My name speaks for itself.
That's what I'm talking about. So for those of you who don't know, I came to Birmingham in 2005 after what the world knows is Hurricane Katrina. So when I got here in 2005, one of the places I was introduced to in the early part of my visit was 4th Avenue downtown. It's a district in Birmingham that's some may say it was a black district. Some say it's a 4th Avenue business district. I'm more than sure Mr. Greg is going to give us the true rundown of the whole area. But when I came down to get my hair cut. In the district, there's several barbershops in the district. And, I'm the type of person, I don't meet strangers. So I kind of went around, I was talking to folks, and there was this spot next to the barbershop, and it was called Green Acres Chicken. Everybody was like, when you come here, this is the place you have to go. You have to go here. If you want some chicken, you have to go here. And I stopped by. Look at me, I was hungry. I needed something to eat while I get my hair done. So needless to say, went there and got some of this world famous chicken. And from there, got a chance to meet Mr. Greg. And it's been like history ever since. But what I do and I appreciate about him was he's never been one to not want to talk or want to, help you out, give you information or just, answer your questions. After those years, I kind of ended up in business, and we're going to talk about some of that a little later of how we really, 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 gather our friendship, gather our businesses, and some of the things that he even, helped not only me, but other businesses with in the city and just for the culture. But right now, Mr. Gray, let's get into, you said but 19, you've been in 68 years, right? And so when you have something like that, you have these people coming along now who think that it's a quickie, a one-off when it talks about branding and issuing your brands. But if you had to give a definition of the longevity, right? Making it through the ups and downs, what's the secret for longevity? Let's start there.
The secret to longevity is commitment. You have to be committed to what you're doing to be successful. Now, when my father passed this along to me in 1993, I made sure that I was committed to what he was leaving me to be successful in. And, a lot of times you're going to have those people, saying he's not going to make it, he's going to get into drugs, he's going to get into that. But see, thoughts like that and accusations that people made me get better. So not only did I not listen to them, I raised the level. I raised the bar. So in 2005, I had 10 locations throughout Birmingham, and they were very successful. The people owned them was very successful, and just unfortunate, they lost interest in trying to make their mark in history. So I went from 10 to 2. So I own 2 stores right now, the headquarters downtown, and my wife owns a store in Ensley. And we're being very successful, and it's because of our commitment. And I have to say, we take great honor and pleasure in pleasing our customers, making sure that they get quality food, making sure that we show them that we appreciate them coming in, patronizing with us, because nowadays you can spend your money anywhere. You ain't got to worry about coming to a place that's owned by a Black person to spend your money. You can spend it any way you want to. So there's competition out there. And if you'll be committed to what you're doing and take pride in it, then you will be successful. And so that's all that I've stood on, is taking pride in what I'm doing, satisfying my customers, and giving them the quality food that they spend their money for.
True. That. So let's take it back a notch before we move forward. So Birmingham is a city that's known for its part that it played in the civil rights and the civil rights movement.
Okay.
So in having a business that made it through that time, right, had a business that was growing, thriving, or dealing with the same issues and pressures of life at that time, because it was about segregation, desegregation, Blacks, whites, moving forward. How did you maneuver during what we would call those rough times or those hard times, and those times where, things were really kind of geared and happening right in that area where you had a business?
Well, I have to go back to commitment. My father, he had a commitment to Green Acres. And it was very difficult for him because he was a Black man that had a good business that was operating during that time. And it was difficult for me, my brother, and my sister during that era, because basically we was untouchable because we did everything that we supposed to do. And we gave quality food and respect to people. So it was difficult, and I'm here to tell you that it was a big struggle. It was almost like the struggle that when we went into the recession and during COVID. Those are just 2 things that I can tell you about what it took to survive. Commitment. And my father was committed to keeping the business going and making it be what it needed to be.
So, and when you talk about commitment, you and I had a conversation off camera, and a lot of people have their different views about desegregation, whether it helped, whether it hurt it. One of the things I tell people about a lot of times is when you talk about segregation or desegregation, you think about, did we really have to push forward to grab, or did we have so many options now, you know what I'm saying, that we don't focus on one another's business? Because I would think that in that time, because it was a Black business, you had things going, we were more mindful of supporting and making sure that those businesses that were there were successful. Would you say that that's a true statement, or how do you find that, people were more focused on making sure we were successful back then than we are now? I guess that would be the question.
Well, there was a lot of businesses back then that had a spinoff from my father starting his business back in 1958. Eldridge Brothers had their barbershops and their car wash and stuff back then. Percy Hornbuckle had a barbershop. Jesse Nelson had a restaurant, a bakery, and it all of them did the same thing that my father was doing, was having determination. And determination is longevity. That's what makes you survive. So it was very difficult, for what we had to do and how we had to go about it. But determination is what made it work. And that's why we're still here now. So things was rough back then. Don't get me wrong. But if a person wasn't strong and had the determination, we would have fell in the cracks like all the other businesses did. So I have to keep saying it's determination. You set yourself a goal and don't accept anything else except for the goal that you are seeking.
Okay, so y'all out there listening, hopefully understand that this word is not being thrown lightly. A lot of business owners these days in time, you have to stand, right? And you have to withstand the things that are going on in and around you. It's not gonna always be the perfect storm. It's not gonna always be what you need, but you have to be committed and be willing to stand and take the things that's going on. So let's move forward. When we come from that standpoint of people, doing what they need to do, helping out people, being mindful, trying to help and do what they need to do. Back to 2005, right? 2005, I come in the city. I'm not yet doing what I need to do for us business, but I'm involved with stopping the violence. I'm involved with community organization. I'm involved with getting things done in the community. One of the things that I remember, prior to us even having any talks about business, was the community efforts and helping out and saying that you would do whatever, you could to a certain extent in helping us to fight some of the things that were going on in the city at that time. How important to you and to your brand is being involved in the community?
Well, the community is the number one thing, because number one, if it wasn't for the community, I couldn't survive and couldn't anyone else survive. So that's why I always have to put the community as what I want to do. I always give back to the community. I always find organizations, I always find things that I can contribute to and that I could give to, because the community is what making me successful. So if God bless me, then I have to bless someone else.
Okay. And that's, I think that's important. I think people need to understand that even in this day and time, it's still important for us to embrace. I mean, you can't do everyone, you can't do everything, but to have something that's a passion to your heart, or that you see that you would like to make sure that things are done in that area, and be committed to even making sure that that actual nonprofit or organization, that you do as much as you can for it, right?
Right.
Because like you said, the community, without the community, we don't exist as business people.
No.
But it's about you doing your due diligence, find out who's out there, what they have out there, and what their history and what they're doing for the community, to make sure that you're back in a worthwhile organization, I guess I would say. So we moved from 2005 to matriculate through the city, getting things done. Somewhere in there, I decided I'm working for the city and just making sure that things are moving downtown. And now we get into business. All right.
Okay.
So business and understanding how to maneuver in business. So one of the things I want to tell people about not just the brand, but Greg Grant as a person who, if you're a person running a business, then your persona has to move toward that business, right? It has to filter in. So after we had these talks when I got in 5 and we have a relationship or a bond, it was like, you know what? This is a successful business. I'm looking at this business grow, right? I'm seeing what's happening with this business. Let me see if I can get a meeting and talk to this gentleman about business. And I think a lot of times we get into things and we try to maneuver or go past the people that are already out there doing it, right? Say, for instance, even with this podcast, I could have just jumped up and said, okay, I'm going to do a podcast. I don't need to talk to such. I don't need to do, but I found people like Joe Lockett, you know what I'm saying? People doing business who are successful at it and who I could get information from to do it. So in that, we have a conversation. And what I want to deal with is the information. How do we share information? How do we give information? And why weren't you, like a lot of people, scared to share information? What is about you, your brand, that you're willing to share information like freely? A lot of people won't share information with you, especially when you're in the same type of business. You got to be selling the same thing. If they figure you're in the same type of business, right? Food industry, the same type of industry, they won't share information with you. Why were, when you and I talk, how was it? So what's your ability to share information freely? Because I know I ain't the only one you've done it with. I've watched you and I see you lead and guide and help other people, right?
Right.
But that's not a norm. So what is it about you that makes you able to, or allows you to share the information? I think I know the answer, but I want you to tell people what is it about you that helps you or get you to do that.
Well, number one, you have to be on the side of the Lord. See, I put him first in and everything that I do. And so that's the reason why I've been so successful. So now if someone comes to me and asks me for information that may help them start a business or give them some information about operating a business, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to help them and to guide them. And so it's only fair that we should do that, because our race is like crabs in a barrel. If one crab try to get out that barrel, the other one is going to snatch him back down in there and say, no, don't you go nowhere. You stay with us. So that's not the way it should be. We should be wanting and willing to help each other to be successful. So now whatever information that I give somebody else about starting a business and how to operate a business, I don't look at it as being a hinder to me, because I'm being blessed and I'm trying to bless somebody else. So if they take heed and listen to what I'm saying, they can be blessed also. So that's what I was saying about the 10 locations that I had. Those people had opportunities to be successful, but they chose to do something else. So I could still have 10 green acres right now. But the people who are trusted to do what they needed to do, they chose to do something else. So it's all about, I'm trying to be helpful. I can't help everybody, but those that do come to me, I feel it my obligation to help them the best way I can.
True that. And so now we have the information. Nephew, you got any questions today? You're kind of quiet over there. Yeah.
I got a few.
Go for it. Yeah.
Let me unmute my mic real quick. Again, nice to meet you. I've ate your food so many times.
Okay, thank you.
Honestly, I do remember the first time I actually had green acres. It's just to reminisce a little bit. Because I didn't know what it was at all. with me being a kid and stuff. And I remember my mom, she was going over there to the Carver Theater, and I was in the band. So I was playing around when Dr. Frank Adams was still alive. So in playing with him, of course, everything get done with middle of the day. Oh, we on 4th Avenue. Let's go up there to get some green acres chicken. What's green acres chicken? What? Okay. It's green chicken? What is it? So we go over there. She get her the fried green tomatoes. She get her the 5-piece whole wings.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, try this out. I was like, all right. Took it in. I was like, woo. Ever since then, boy, you didn't had a customer out of me from all of the generations.
Well, thank you.
This is one of my questions, though, reminiscing and going back. You said y'all started out in 1958.
Correct.
At least down here.
Mm.
That was a very, especially if we going back to the civil rights point, that was a very heavy time.
It was.
Especially because, if I'm not mistaken, that was assassination on King, and it was the assassination on the president,
JFK.
Mm-hmm.
To go down here and start a business, I'm interested to see it from one, where you were during that time frame, and second, how'd your dad handle all of that just in the moment of time? Because we touched on it, but I don't think we really shined so much of a light on your perspective going in. Did you think that was a smart move, or did you think, you know what I mean, he was probably a little bit, what we doing this down here of all places? We walks away from what happened with 4 little girls, then what's going on in the climate today. I'm really interested to see where that was, or where your frame of mind was.
Okay, well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that, because during that time, I really didn't have anything to do with that. Okay. I was a youngster. In fact, I was in about the 5th grade, and when they bombed the 16th Street Baptist Church, we was right across the street from it, because that's where we started at, 6th Avenue and 16th Street. So it was very devastating to me, because my father did have some involvement in the civil rights movement, and he kind of kept us kind of like close, because a lot of times when, you know, we had the protests and the demonstrations and stuff, he kept us like shielded. He wouldn't let us get out and get involved with that stuff, because I had cousins who went out and protested, and they got locked up over at the city jail and out there at Legion Field, where they had the big thing at. But I can't really comment on and respond to what you asked about it, because I was just a little toddler, and I was just
you was pretty much
surviving,
removed from it,
right?
In a sense,
right. But I did see my father operating, and he stayed focused on the goal. Like I was telling you about a goal, he stayed focused on his goal, and whatever came toward him, he just continued to do the right thing and stay focused.
Okay. Yeah. I got a few more, but I mean,
go ahead,
go. Let's go.
Okay. Well, since you say you was in the 5th grade around that time, towards the 70s of downtown, I wasn't even thought about. So I'm interested to see. That's a little bit closer towards high school for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were you part of the business then too? Like, were you always in it from a teenager on up? Like, was it the summer job or things like that? Or
okay, like I said, I was born in 51.
Okay,
my father started the business in 58. So when we got out of school, our first assignment was to go by the restaurant, peel potatoes. We had a 100-pound croaker sack of potatoes that we had to peel before we went home and did our homework. And we had 50 pounds of wings that we had to wash, season, and flour up for the next day. So that's what we did every day. Monday through Friday, after school, that's what we did. Then when we did that, we walked from downtown to Norwood and we did our homework. So yes, we was very involved in it from the first beginning, from the initiation of the store. And as as time passed, and I became old enough, after finishing school and stuff like that, I became a manager of the store, and I ran it for my father. Gave him a chance to just kick back and relax a little bit.
The reason I asked it like that was because I know today there's a lot of I guess you could say pseudo family businesses, but once the kids get a certain age, they kind of just like remove themselves, and now you got to buy other or get a whole bunch of other different coworkers. Didn't know if that was something that y'all practiced back then, but as you just told, yeah,
No,
you know that it's true to this.
I stayed focused and I stayed with the business, and I got married in '73. And right after I got married, things was a little tough and whatever. So I left and went to California, and I raised my family out there for 18 years. And then I came back and got back in the business in '93. And I've been steadfast since then.
Yeah. So that's one history lesson, right? And so understand that you just said that y'all started at 16th Street and 6th, right?
Right.
That's where it started at. And then did it move to 17th? Was that the second location, or did you have another location in between?
We had another location. We was across the street. There was a theater over there called Champion Theater. Yeah. Then there was a pool hall. Then there was Green Acres. Then there was pawn shops. There was 2 pawn shops. Then was Copeland Corner. And then there was the other little places that the Jews had. And see, that particular area was where the blacks came to buy their clothes, to go to church, and to go to parties and whatever. And so it was a limited area. And see, once you went past 4th Avenue, it was like a no-no, because that was the white district. That's where they had Sears and Roebuck, Cresses, Pizitz, Parisians, all those places. So that was our spot right there, 4th Avenue.
So that's how we kind of got the name of the Black District.
Yes.
Back then. And then once you all began to obtain businesses, it went from the Black District to the Black Business District, right?
Right. Well, see, what happened was when we got our Black mayor, Richard Arrington, he made it possible for Black people to own businesses down there. So he created a loan institution called Land Bank. And that's where the Black people that own business had the opportunity to borrow money from the city at a very low interest rate, paying back. And that's how we started owning the business where we at now. And then we moved across the street to the place next to Magic City Barbershop. And that was a building that was owned by Pershing Hornbuckle. Like I said, Pershing Hornbuckle, the Elches brothers and Jesse Nelson, they had already been down there, and they was like a fixture down there. So after my father rented from him for about 5 or 6 years, the land bank made it possible for us to buy the building that we in now. So that's my building, that's my land, and I ain't going nowhere.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And you're throwing around some of these names, and for you all who haven't been here, these are names of people who are really, really staples in the Birmingham community, in Birmingham history. The 4th Avenue, the barbershop is still there. Mm-hmm. I think Percy Hornbuckle's son is running it now. Yes. Nelson Cafe is still there.
And his daughter is running it.
His daughter is running it now. These are places that are staples. And it's nephew, you brought something up because somebody asked me this just the other day, like, so if something happens to you, what's going to happen to your brand? Are your children to the point where they want to deal with it? Do they want to continue to keep it? And I'm like, well, it's a conversation, but they really haven't been involved in the continuation of a brand, because once again, in these days and time, people have lives, and they think that what they're doing or what they want to do, that's your thing. In other words, I hear a lot of people saying, well, that was my daddy's thing. That ain't my thing. That was, that's something he chose to do. I choose to do something different. So, when it comes to that, You just have to do the best that you can do with your brand and while you're here. And if somebody wants to learn it or wants to take it over, they'll show interest. They'll show interest. Just like you said, you were gone 18 years. You could have stood in Cali, I'm more than sure, and found something else to do. But you were interested in seeing what your dad had built succeed.
Correct.
So that's why you came back. And I think that there has to be that interest, right?
Right.
And it has to be that eagerness to see brands do what they need to do and push forward if it's what you want to do. Because I've also seen on the other end, people force their children to take over brands, right? Or to try to push brands forward. And they just totally obliterate it within, you know what I'm saying, very short time span. Very short time. Either they go through all of the things that have been left to them, you know, monetary wise or inventory wise, or they're just so uninterested, right? That they just let it kind of fizzle out, run itself, and then just go away. So I don't know. I just think when it comes to building a brand, having a brand, you do the best with that brand that you can. And if you have a child or you have somebody that's interested in furthering the brand, then you know what I'm saying, you allow them and teach them as much as you can. But I think sometimes, and a lot of times, it's people outside your, you know what I'm saying, your children. So sometimes you find somebody interested in doing what you do, who you have to just take in and help them along and learning if they show enough interest and they're serious and sincere about it. I'm not saying you got to leave it all to them, but you can help them because their passion is there for whatever you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And so,
well, let me comment on that because my father told me a long time ago. He said, "Son, I have something here that you can venture on, that you could expand on, and if you're not interested in it." So I have 3 girls, and I've instilled in all 3 of them what I have and what's available for them. And all 3 of them take an interest in the store. I have one that's committed. She's my right hand right now. And I have pretty much turned it over to her. And what she did was she became a broker. And her real estate company name is Green Acres Real Estate Enterprise. So she has done something with what she was working with me to continue to improve, and she branched out and did something else.
and still carry the brand name.
Still carried the brand name on.
And what they call it is a portfolio. She just opened the portfolio to other things, but still recognizing the brand name. And I also shout out to, because I see merchandising, like I see you had this on. I come into the store. I see different things that's available now. Upgrades and things like this. I see the menu boards. And so, yeah, sometimes people come in and they stay with what you're doing, but they add another touch to it. They add another flair to it. But I want to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier, because I was going through this thing by time set, because this is kind of the part where it gets a little emotional for me, because I just want to say this, because we were talking about this earlier about people not giving recognition to folk, right?
Right.
And I want to say this on this podcast, on on film, for history, to say that people don't know that there would be no Big Daddy brand if it wasn't for Greg Grant. I ain't got to get into all the reasons, but I'm telling you, you ain't got to hear from nobody, but I'm telling you, the brand would not be if it wasn't for you. And I'm always telling you, thank you, Dad. And I really appreciate it, because I had a father, and my father just passed a couple of years ago, but even then, my father wasn't interested in what I was doing, because he was doing what he did. My father drove taxi and school bus for my entire life. It's all I ever known him to do. I wasn't interested in driving taxi. I wasn't interested in driving school bus. My interest was always on some sort of business, doing something, selling something. So moving forward, we talked about 2005. I got into doing the Stop the Violence, working in the community. 2009, 2009, I began working for the city, working for the police department as a civilian, working for the mayor. And then we get to 2015, and I have this great idea of wanting to start this business. So in 2014, heading to 15, I sit down with you and we talk. I know that I didn't want to start something and not know what all I was going to get into. And you sat down and you said, son, I'm going to tell you, you know what I'm saying, the ups and downs, the pros and the cons, basically. But you told me, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to lie on you, but you told me that you had watched what I was doing, the ways I was moving, and felt and believed that, you know, I could get the things done that I needed to get done. And you took the time out and invested in me to make sure that things I would have the opportunity. Because there was no guarantee, right?
Right.
There was no guarantee. And in full disclosure, there was some ups and downs. There was some ups and downs in the immediate part of our business relationship, right? And so it was like, but because you believed in me, right? Because you put so much effort into making sure that things were going my way. When the ups came, we shared the up. When the down came, I never forgot. And so when things turned back around from, because I started off doing barbecue and cooking. That's where I started. And so prior to the sauce, you know, that's where I was. And in that, I'd like to say and tell the world thank you, because there really wouldn't be a brand if it hadn't been for you, for your guidance and your actual investment in time and help, right? So now we go from there and we get into the sauce. And here's another thing that when we talked about earlier, investing in time and doing things for people. So I remember having the sauce, and before I had it in any store, it was in your store.
It sure was.
I never forgot that. Like, you didn't have to give me that space, you know. So how important is it for us to give people an opportunity that I guess either is proven or just who we feel like is going to be the person that they say is going to be? How important, or what made you take the chance? Because like I said, I don't think I'm the first, because it happened too genuinely, right? But I can only speak on my side of it. So what made that for you in terms to help bring this brand along?
Well, number one, you came to me man to man, and you came to me with your idea. I heard your idea. I didn't know nothing about barbecue sauce. I didn't know about any of that. And well, it wasn't about the barbecue. It was about you doing the barbecue at first. And so I just said, well, this young man, he came to me, you know, and he was asking me about the business, asking me about the ins and outs. And all I did was just gave him some information and guided him in the right direction. And see, the old saying is you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. So all I did was just assisted him. And like I said, he came to me very candid, and I heard it in his voice that he wanted to do something, and he wanted to be something. So I invested in him, and I took a chance. And you know, from there it led from you just going barbecuing at certain sites that you created your own barbecue sauce. And you came to me and you said, "Well, hey, Dad, what about let me put this barbecue sauce in your restaurant and you sell it?" I said, "Sounds great to me, because I'm buying somebody else's barbecue sauce. So why can't I just use yours?" And that's what we did. And we bonded from there, and that's how it went.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate it. But my other thing is that one thing that you did that I really appreciate too was not only did you listen to me, but you told me to come back with everything written out. And I think a lot of times people don't think, you know what I'm saying, think things true and see things. And I know basically it's scriptorial, because the Bible talks about write the vision, make it plain. but you wanted me to see it, right? And then another thing is, something that you asked me about business is, you told me create terms I was comfortable with. Like you didn't give me the term, and so where I could say, well, if you hadn't did this, or you had your foot on my neck and you knew you set me up to fail, and different things that people use, the excuse that they use, you allowed me to create my own terms.
Exactly.
And it was like, okay, so I get to say how this is gonna go. Yeah, because then if something happens, this is what you said. This is what you talked about. And I think another thing that people, I'm gonna ask you this question. I kind of know the answer because I've been having problems with it in a lot of terms, but to you, how important is it for people to communicate throughout the process, whatever process it is, right? Whether it's an investment, whether it's, with your daughter having a real estate business property, whatever it is, how important is communication to you in the process of whatever you're going to do?
Communication is very important because understanding is the best policy in the world. If two people understand each other, then they can get along and they can survive. So it's just very important that, like with me, I don't have a problem with sharing information. I'm not going to give you my secret recipe, but I'll share information with you on how to be a business person, how to start a business, and how to be successful. And like I said earlier, when this interview first started, you have to set a goal. And if you set a goal, you have to start off at the bottom and just continue to work until you reach that goal that you set. And that's what it's all about, determination. So now, son, when you and I first talked, and you talked about you wanted to do this and you wanted to do that, if you wasn't sincere, you wouldn't have made it. You wouldn't have been successful. But that was on you. It wasn't on me. So all I did was just gave you some guidance, gave you some information, and then I left it up to you.
Yeah, and I definitely respect that. And like I said, I think a lot of it is missing. And we sit down talking and trying to talk people to this history, because I think in the world of business today, right, I think a lot of that is missing. I think people don't understand how important communication is. I don't think people don't understand what it is to have a word. You know what I'm saying? Like, to give your word and to honor your word. You and I was talking off camera earlier. One of the biggest problems I'm having even right now, I'm open to the public 1 day a week, and getting somebody to actually commit to doing what they said they were going to do 1 day a week has been a life struggle and challenge, you know what I'm saying, weekly, to the point where we're hiring and doing things through an app now. To get somebody to come to work 1 day a week, you got to go through an app to get people to say, I can do this, or I can work, or whatever the case may be. So we're going to try to make sure that people understand there are certain things that need to be done in order to get business to go forward and to have business practice and principles. But let me ask you this question. Give me, we know what one of them are because you've been talking about it the whole time, but give me what you would give if you had to give somebody about the three principles, the three greatest principles, the three principles that a person would need to be successful in business at this moment. Like,
okay, well, number one, you have to have a business in mind that you want to commit to. You have to commit to it. You have to plan to do the business. And then, like I said, you have to set a goal. So anybody that's going to start a business, to whether it's cutting grass, you have to set a goal. Say, I'm going to start cutting grass, and then I'm going to start, my goal is that I'm going to have other people cutting grass for me. So that's the concept that it takes. And to get back to communication is the best policy in the world. And see, we are so high tech now that everybody want to text. Well, you can't communicate by texting. I am a strong believer. Get on the phone and talk, or set up an appointment and talk. That's how you do business. You don't do business texting. So
And what will be your third one?
the third one would be once you get there, stay focused, stay dedicated, and just grind.
Yeah, I like that one. Definitely when you talk about the grind. So we're at 2015, right? And we're doing what we need to do in getting business together. I have the barbecue sauce. We've been in your store. We got in a couple of other stores. We're in the pig. Things are going forward. And now it's 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
COVID hits. So when COVID hits, it's like, what do you do? How do you, how do you make it through these maneuvers? People can't move. People are locked in. People are, not getting things done. And so now in that shift for me, it was okay. Where'd I go? What do I do? How do I, maintain? So I did what I call the COVID pivot, right? And so it was in the end of 2020 here to 2021 that I created what I call another division, which was my catering division. And so now I became a full-time caterer, chef, and began to cook for other people, began to make things happen for other folks on the food side, right? And so after that was 2021, then I stepped into another round of the seasoning, So now I'm at a point where there are three divisions under one brand.
Mm-hmm.
The expansion of the brand, but just having to do things that stick with what you started with, but things that elevate your brand or keeps your brand moving. So moving forward for Green Acres, you talked about the real estate. We talked about still having, downsizing some, but still having to keep quality and to keep that brand going. Are there any ventures or things that you're looking to do in the near future as far as the brand is concerned? Or we going to ride this out and let the wheels fall off? How you looking future-wise for Green Acres?
Well, I tried franchising, and I did the best I could do with it by giving other people opportunities to be successful. So right now, I'm comfortable with the 2 stores that I have, and like my father told me a long time ago, he said, "Son, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it." So that's why I haven't changed my menu. I haven't added anything to it. A lot of people come to me and they say, "Why don't you do macaroni and cheese? Why don't you do collard greens?" I said, "Macaroni and cheese, collard greens is right down the street." So I keep my stuff focused on just doing what I do best. And that's frying some chicken, frying some fried green tomatoes, some pork chops, some fish. And that's all I need to do.
And we need to say it louder for the people in the back. So true story, because I'm open, I'm open one day a week, right, to the public. And people always want to add to your menu, always want to tell you what you should have, or want to tell you how many days you should be open. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, have y'all did any study on the cost? You know what I'm saying? On refrigeration, on what goes bad in a day, how you gonna, you know what I'm saying? How you gonna choose whether you gonna have 10 people to feed today or 100 people to feed today? How you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? And I just think that people really don't understand what all happens behind the scenes when they make these judgments, because those suggestions are purely usually for they, you know what I'm saying, for them.
For their purpose only. It's what I want.
It's what
you see what I'm saying?
I would like to see. You know what I'm saying?
So,
not I got 100 people.
Once they give you that suggestion to add something to your menu, you don't see them no more. So now you stuck with a new product that you're trying to put out there for people. Yeah,
I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me.
No.
It's like, oh, you need to, and man, if you did soul food, yeah, you would come by. So I'm doing a whole soul food kitchen because you want to come by. So how about you go open up one and I'll come eat with you?
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I'm glad to know that it wasn't just me and that that's just a good business sense to have. And man, I'm telling you, I really, really enjoyed this interview. I really, really enjoyed it. And hopefully people have gotten out of it and understand that running business is more than just a notion. I kind of want this interview to go the way that it did because I need people to know that first of all, it's not a crime to help others, right? Not saying you help everybody, but you don't have to keep it all to yourself. I want them to know that there's still men doing good business. There's still men doing good business, and you don't have to flim-flam and scam and you know what I'm saying, and steal your way through business. You can actually still do good business. And there are businesses that have passed the test of time. And sir, you are definitely one of them because I think you with 6 to 8 years, he said. That's longer than I've been alive. So I'm definitely thinking that is the test of time within itself. And I just really wanted to tell you publicly how much I appreciate you. Between you and I don't think you ever really met my mother when she came down because you weren't downtown when she came. But between you and my mother, you know what I'm saying, my wife now, but you and my mother like my two greatest, biggest fans and people that have put into me, even when I didn't believe in myself. You said, man, you can do this. You can, even like I told you through the hard times, through our ups and downs, when I had and didn't have, it's like, son, just focus. I know you're not running no games. I know you're not trying to just focus, but remember what you said. I remember you telling me that. Remember what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't, you know what I'm saying? We had a contract, you know what I'm saying? Because I tell people, anybody, contracts are made, especially amongst anybody, friends, family, whatever it is, contracts. Write it down, make it plain, and make people honor them. And, we didn't have to go the whole nasty route or none of that. You just said, son, remember what you said. Yeah. And I did. And I thank you. And we headed into 15 years strong of this relationship. And you can call me for anything. And we talked about it earlier. I'm probably going to do a few more tastings down by you. We get some people in the house and, you know what I'm saying, let them try, let them see the partnership and the friendship. But if you're in Birmingham, listen to me well. Give them the address there. I know it's on 17th. I won't get it wrong.
The address is 1705 4th Avenue North, and that's Birmingham, Alabama, 35203. And my second location is 913 20th Street in Ensley, Birmingham, Alabama, 35218.
Listen, man, listen to me well. You got to go in. You got to get the manager special. Some tomatoes on the side, fried hard, all the way. You hear what I'm saying? That's what you order. Don't ask no questions. Walk up to the counter. Get your manager special, fried hard, some tomatoes on the side, all the way, and pick you up a nice peach tea, okay? Now, you got to be early because the peach tea go fast. So you got to be early. Tell you now, try to get your hip to the game. Peach tea go fast, but, get there early and get your peach tea, and you're going to have you an awesome meal. It has been a pleasure. It's good to see y'all, hear y'all, get your views up. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget, www.bigdaddybomb.com is where you can pick up this sauce and the seasoning we've been talking about. Or if you're in the Bessemer, the big Bessemer area, 1200 Hall Avenue on a Friday, whoa, we got the best fish in town. Right here at Little Mama's and Hall Avenue. Hey, man, y'all do what we do. That is stay blessed, stay up, like, share, subscribe. And we're going to holler at y'all next week. Hope you enjoyed the show because I definitely did. And this is what? Heavy Talk, the podcast.